The massive alien ship moved through space like a dark metal mountain. Its hull was black as night, covered in sharp spikes and glowing red lights. The ship was 3 miles long and 1 mile wide. Anyone who saw it would feel fear in their hearts. This was the Void Render, the most feared warship in the Zephyrian fleet. Captain Thane Korvac stood on the bridge of his ship. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms. His red eyes glowed as he looked at the star map in front of him. The map showed a small yellow star with several planets around it. One planet was marked in blue. This was their target. "Report?" Korvac said to his second-in-command. Lieutenant Vex stepped forward. She was shorter than the captain, but just as dangerous-looking. "We are 3 hours away from the human colony, sir. Our scouts have sent back their reports." Korvac smiled, showing sharp teeth. "What did they find?" "The humans have built some kind of defense around their planet. Small stations in orbit. Maybe 20 ships guarding the system. Their technology looks very basic, sir." "Old and patched together," the captain laughed. It was a cold sound that made the other aliens on the bridge nervous. "Humans. We studied their radio signals for months. They are barely out of their home system. They fight each other over small pieces of land. They use chemical rockets to reach space. How can such weak creatures think they can stand against us?" The Void Render had conquered 43 star systems in the past 10 years. Every alien race had surrendered when they saw the great ship. Those who tried to fight were destroyed in hours. The Zephyrian Empire now controlled half of this part of the galaxy. "Sir, we are getting a signal from the human planet," the communications officer called out. "Put it on the main screen," Korvac ordered. The screen flickered and showed a human woman. She had short gray hair and wore a blue uniform with gold marks on it. Her eyes were hard and cold. Behind her, other humans worked at control panels. "This is Admiral Sarah Chun of the Terran Defense Force," the woman said. "You are entering human space without permission. Turn around and leave now." The bridge fell silent. No one had ever told the Zephyrians to leave before. Most races begged for mercy. Some tried to buy their freedom with gold or rare metals, but no one had ever ordered them away. Korvac stepped closer to the screen. "I am Captain Thane Korvac of the Zephyrian hegemony. You will surrender your colony to us. Your people will become workers for our empire. Any who resist will die. You have 1 hour to make your choice." Admiral Chun did not look afraid. She did not even blink. "Captain Korvac, you picked the wrong species to threaten. Human space is not for sale, it is not for rent, and it is certainly not for taking. I suggest you turn your ship around and go home while you still can." The connection ended. The screen went black. For a moment, no one on the bridge spoke. Then Korvac began to laugh again. "Did you hear that? She thinks 20 old ships can stop the Void Render. She thinks her little planet can fight the Zephyrian Empire." "Sir," Lieutenant Vex said carefully, "maybe we should be more careful. The humans might have hidden weapons." Korvac turned his red eyes on her. "Hidden weapons? Look at their ships." "Vex, they are made from scrap metal and old parts. Their strongest weapon is probably some kind of explosive missile. We have shields that can stop anything they have." He walked to the center of the bridge. Around him, dozens of alien crew members worked at their stations. The bridge was huge, with tall ceilings and walls covered in weapons controls. "All stations, prepare for battle," Korvac announced. "Charge the main guns. Ready the planet crackers. We will show these humans what happens when someone refuses the Zephyrian Empire." The ship began to hum with power. Deep in its belly, massive weapons came online. The planet crackers were the most feared weapons in the galaxy. They could break apart a whole world in minutes. "Sir, we are now 2 hours from the human planet," the navigation officer reported. "Good. Send another message to the human admiral. Tell her she has 30 minutes to surrender. After that, we will destroy every ship in their system. Then we will crack their planet like an egg." The communications officer sent the message. The response came back in seconds. "The humans say no, sir. Admiral Chun says to, quote, 'Come and try it. Korvac's face turned darker. In all his years of conquest, no race had been this bold. Most aliens surrendered as soon as they saw the void render. The few who fought usually gave up after losing a few ships. These humans are either very brave or very stupid, he said. Maybe both, sir, Lieutenant Vex replied. The captain walked to the front of the bridge. Through the massive windows, he could see stars scattered across the black of space. Soon he would see the human planet. Soon he would add another victory to his long list. Sir, our long-range sensors are picking up more activity around the human colony, the sensor officer called out. What kind of activity? More ships are moving into position. Small craft mostly. Some look like cargo haulers that have been fitted with weapons. I count maybe 30 ships now. Korvac nodded. They are gathering everything they have for one. Last fight, it will not matter. Ready all forward batteries. As soon as we are in range, we destroy their ships. Show no mercy. The Void Render continued its journey through space. Behind it came 3 smaller Zephyrian ships. These were destroyers, each one bigger than the largest human vessel. Together, the 4 ships carried enough firepower to level a continent. 1 hour to target, sir, the navigation officer announced. Excellent. Begin final weapons check. I want every gun ready to fire. Today, the humans will learn why no one stands against the Zephyrian Empire. But as the great alien ship moved closer to the human colony, something strange was happening. The human ships were not running away. They were not trying to hide behind their planet. Instead, they were spreading out in a wide formation. It looked almost like they were trying to surround something much bigger than themselves. On the human command ship, Admiral Chun watched the approaching alien vessels on her screen. Around her, officers worked quietly at their stations. No one looked afraid. Some even looked excited. Ma'am, the alien ship is huge, her tactical officer said. Our sensors show it has enough weapons to destroy our entire fleet. Probably, Chun agreed. But they don't know everything about us. They think we're just another weak race ready to give up? They're about to learn how wrong they are. She turned to her communications officer. Send a message to all ships. Tell them it's time to show these aliens what humans are really made of. No surrender, no retreat. We make our stand here. The message went out to every human ship in the system, on cargo haulers turned into warships, on patrol boats loaded with missiles, on defense platforms hidden among the asteroids, human crews prepared for battle. Captain Korvac stood on his bridge, watching the human ships on his screen. They looked so small compared to his mighty vessel. He could not understand why they did not run. Maybe humans were just too stupid to know when they were beaten. 30 minutes to firing range, sir, his weapons officer reported. Good. Target their largest ships first. We will crush their fleet and then crack their planet. After today, no other race will dare to refuse us. The Void Render moved forward through the dark of space, its weapons glowing with deadly energy. Behind it, the 3 destroyer ships followed like hungry wolves. They had come to conquer another world for their empire. But the humans were not planning to make it easy. Deep in their ships, human crews checked their weapons one last time. They knew they were facing an enemy much stronger than themselves. They knew many of them would not survive the coming battle. But they also knew something the aliens did not understand. Humans did not fight because they thought they could win. They fought because some things were worth fighting for, no matter what the odds. The stage was set for a battle that would change everything. In less than an hour, the galaxy would learn that humanity was not like other races. They would learn that humans had their own way of dealing with bullies. They would learn that no one invades human space. The first shots of the battle came from the Void Render. Captain Korvac ordered his gunners to fire on the closest human ships. Bright red beams of energy shot across space like angry lightning. The beams were so hot they could melt through steel in seconds, but something strange happened. The human ships moved. They moved fast, faster than the Zephyrian computers had calculated. The energy beams missed their targets and hit empty space instead. What? Korvac stared at his screen. How did they dodge our targeting systems? Lieutenant. Vex checked her instruments. Sir, the human ships are not following normal flight patterns. They are moving in ways that make no sense. Our battle computers cannot predict where they will go next. The human ships twisted and turned through space. Like flying snakes. Some flew straight at the alien vessels, then suddenly changed direction at the last second. Others spun in circles while firing their weapons. It looked like chaos, but there was a pattern to it that the aliens could not understand. Admiral Chun watched the battle from her command ship. All units, execute Plan Alpha. Show them how humans really fight. Her tactical officer smiled. Ma'am, the alien weapons are very powerful, but they're built to fight ships that fly in straight lines. Our pilots trained for this. On the human ships, pilots who had grown up playing video games and flying in Earth's atmosphere used skills the aliens had never seen before. They flew their ships like racing cars, like fighter jets, like birds dancing in the sky, the cargo. Hauler Lucky Strike came under fire from one of the Zephyrian destroyers. Captain Maria Santos, who had spent 20 years flying supply runs through asteroid fields, threw her ship into a barrel roll that would have made an Earth pilot proud. "They want to dance?" she said to her crew. "Let's dance." The Lucky Strike spun between the alien energy beams and fired back with missiles. The missiles were old Earth designs, nothing fancy. But they hit their target because the aliens never expected a cargo ship to fight like a fighter plane. Back on the void render, alarms were going off. The human attacks were not doing much damage to the massive ship, but they were hitting things the aliens did not expect anyone to target. "Sir, they hit our communication array," the communications officer reported. "We are having trouble talking to our other ships." "And sir," the sensor officer added, "they keep hitting our sensor dishes. We are losing our ability to track their movements." Korvac was getting angry. The humans were fighting like insects, stinging and running away. It was not how space battles were supposed to work. In every other conquest, enemy ships lined up and fired at each other until one side was destroyed. "Target their command ship," he ordered. "Fire everything we have at the ship with the Admiral." The void render turned its massive guns toward Admiral Chun's ship. But as the weapons charged up, something unexpected happened. Every human ship in the area suddenly changed course and flew straight at the alien vessel. "Sir, they are all coming right at us," Lieutenant Vex said. "All of them. It looks like a suicide attack. Impossible. No race is that crazy." But the humans kept coming. 20 ships. 30 ships, all flying directly at the void render. The alien gunners fired as fast as they could, but there were too many targets moving too fast. The human ship New Texas took a direct hit from an energy beam. The ship broke apart, but its crew had already fired their missiles. As the ship died, its captain, former Earth Navy pilot Jake Morrison, smiled and whispered, "Remember the Alamo." 3 more human ships were destroyed, but their sacrifice meant something. While the aliens were busy shooting at the attacking ships, they did not notice the other human vessels moving into position around them. "All ships, execute hammer strike," Admiral Chun ordered. Suddenly, the human ships that had been flying around randomly all focused their fire on one spot, the left side of the void render. Their weapons were not as powerful as the alien guns, but they all hit the same target at the same time. Sparks flew from damaged armor. Warning lights flashed on the alien bridge. "Hull breach on deck 7, someone reported. "Minor damage, but they actually hurt us?" Korvac could not believe it. His ship was the most powerful vessel in the fleet. It had shields and armor that could stop anything. How were these primitive humans managing to damage it? "Sir, we have another problem," the tactical officer said. "The human ships are not fighting the way our war computers were programmed to handle. Every time we try to target one, it moves in a way that makes no sense." The truth was that human pilots were not following any military handbook. They were improvising, using instincts and creativity that no computer could predict. A former racing pilot would suddenly fly like a crop duster. A cargo ship captain would use moves she learned flying through asteroid storms. The battle was becoming a nightmare for the Zephyrians. They had planned for an easy victory, but the humans were making them work for every shot. Then something even more disturbing happened. As the Void Render focused on the ships attacking from the front, new contacts appeared on their sensors. More human ships were coming from behind the planet. Sir, we have 12 more human vessels approaching. These look different from the others. Korvac looked at the new ships on his screen. They were sleeker than the first group, built for speed and stealth. They moved through space like hunting sharks. Where did they come from? He demanded. They must have been hiding behind the planet, sir. Our sensors could not detect them. Admiral Chun smiled as she watched the newcomers join the battle. These were not converted cargo ships or patrol boats. These were the ships of the human defense corps, built specifically for war. The lead ship was the destroyer Defiance, commanded by Captain Elena Rodriguez. She had fought pirates in the outer systems for 5 years. She knew how to hurt an enemy and make it count. Defiance to all Defense Corps ships, she said over the radio. Target their engines. We're going to make sure they can't run away when they realize their mistake. The Defense Corps' ships attacked with precision that surprised the aliens. Instead of the wild flying of the first group, these pilots struck specific targets with surgical accuracy, the human destroyer. Retribution fired a spread of missiles at the Void Render's engine section. The missiles were small, but they carried special warheads designed to damage alien technology. Direct hit on Engine 3, Lieutenant Vex reported. We're losing power. More alarms sounded as the human attacks continued. The aliens were discovering that their enemies had been studying captured Zephyrian technology. The humans knew exactly where to hit to cause the most damage. Captain Korvac was beginning to feel something he had not felt in years. Fear, not fear of dying, but fear of losing. His mighty ship was being hurt by creatures he had thought were barely capable of spaceflight. All ships, concentrate fire on the human destroyers, he ordered. Ignore the small vessels. But that was exactly what the humans wanted. While the big alien guns focused on the Defense Corps ships, the converted cargo haulers and patrol boats continued their stinging attacks. They hit sensors, communication arrays, weapon cooling systems, anything that would make the alien ship less effective. The human ship Golden Eagle was a former mining vessel that had been fitted with military weapons. Its captain, Sarah Kim, had spent 10 years flying mining equipment through dangerous space. She knew how to make a ship do things it was never designed to do. The Golden Eagle flew under the Void Render's main guns and fired explosive charges directly at the alien ship's hull. The explosions were not big enough to destroy the massive vessel, but they damaged important systems inside. Sir, they hit our main computer core, the tactical officer reported. We're having trouble coordinating our weapons. Korvac was furious. How are they doing this? They're using primitive weapons and old ships. We should be crushing them like insects. Lieutenant Vex had been studying the human attack patterns. Sir, I think I understand. They're not trying to destroy us with single powerful attacks. They're cutting us apart one small piece at a time. She was right. The humans had realized they could not match the Zephyrian ship's firepower, so they were using a different strategy. Death by 1,000 cuts. Each attack was small, but together they were slowly crippling the great alien vessel. The battle continued for 2 hours. The humans lost 8 ships, but they had damaged the Void Render in ways that surprised everyone. The mighty alien vessel was still dangerous, but it was hurt and getting weaker. Then Admiral Chun made a decision. That shocked both sides. All ships, this is Admiral Chun, prepare for ramming speed. Ma'am? Her tactical officer stared at her. You want to ram their ship? Not all of us, just me. Signal all other ships to continue the attack. I'm going to show these aliens something they've never seen before. Admiral Chun's command ship, the cruiser Indomitable, turned toward the Void Render and accelerated to maximum speed. On the alien bridge, everyone watched in horror as the human ship came straight at them. She's going to ram us, Lieutenant. Vex said, her ship will be destroyed. But so will half our bridge, Korvac realized. All guns, fire on that ship. Stop her. Every weapon that could target the Indomitable fired at once. Energy beams and missiles filled the space between the two vessels. The human ship took hit after hit, but it kept coming. Sir, she's not stopping. Impact in 30 seconds. Captain Korvac had to make a choice. Keep fighting and risk having his bridge destroyed, or do something that would shame him forever. Emergency maneuvers, he ordered. Move us out of the way. The massive void render, the terror of 43 star systems, turned and ran from a single human ship. Admiral Chun's ship missed the alien vessel by less than a mile, but the message was clear. Humans would rather die fighting than live as slaves. As the Indomitable flew past the alien ship, Admiral Chun sent one last message to Captain Korvac. That's what we call a warning shot, Captain. Next time we won't miss. On the alien bridge, everyone was silent. They had just witnessed something that went against everything they knew about civilized warfare. The humans were willing to sacrifice themselves for victory. Captain Korvac stared at the screen showing the human ship still fighting around his damaged vessel. For the first time in his career, he began to wonder if this conquest was worth the cost. The battle was far from over, but one thing was already clear. The Zephyrians had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked a species that would never surrender, never give up, and never stop fighting. The humans were just getting started. 3 hours into the battle, Captain Korvac thought the worst was over. His ship had taken damage, but it was still the most powerful vessel in the system. The human fleet had lost many ships, and surely they would surrender soon. Then his sensor officer made an announcement that changed everything. Sir, we have new contacts on long-range sensors. Multiple ships approaching from deep space. Korvac looked at the tactical display. 12 new dots were moving toward the battle zone. But these ships were different from the others. They moved in perfect formation like a pack of wolves hunting together. What kind of ships are they? He asked. Unknown design, sir. They're smaller than our destroyers, but bigger than the human ships we've been fighting. And sir, they're moving very fast. Lieutenant Vex studied the sensor readings. Sir, these ships have stealth technology. Our sensors can barely see them. If they hadn't wanted us to know they were coming, we might not have detected them at all. On her command ship, Admiral Chun smiled when she saw the new arrivals on her screen. She opened a communication channel to the lead ship. Nightfall, this is Admiral Chun. Welcome to the party. Admiral, this is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Deep Space Fleet. Sorry we're late. We came as soon as we got your message. The ships now entering the battle were not like the converted cargo haulers and patrol boats that had been fighting the aliens. These were the vessels of the human Deep Space Fleet, designed and built for one purpose: hunting dangerous enemies in the dark between the stars. Captain Elena Vasquez had spent 5 years commanding the stealth destroyer Nightfall. She and her crew had hunted pirates, smugglers, and worse things that lived in the empty spaces between star systems. They knew how to track an enemy, how to hurt them, and how to disappear before anyone could fight back. All deep space units, this is Nightfall. Begin Operation Shadow Strike. Target their support ships first. Leave the big one for later. The Zephyrian fleet had 3 destroyer escorts spread around the main battle area. These ships were supposed to protect the Void Render from surprise attacks. But they had never faced enemies like the human Deep Space Fleet, the first escort ship. The Crimson Blade was patrolling the edge of the system when something impossible happened. Its sensors detected a brief contact, then nothing. A few seconds later, all of its communication equipment stopped working. Bridge, this is communications. We've lost all external channels. Something cut our antenna arrays. Captain Zex, commander of the Crimson Blade, looked at his tactical display. There was nothing there. No ships, no missiles, nothing. But somehow, his ship had been attacked. All sensors, maximum scan. Find whatever did this. But the human stealth ship Phantom was already gone, invisible again in the darkness of space. Captain Sarah Kim, who had transferred from mining ships to the Deep Space Fleet 2 years earlier, watched the alien destroyer from 5 miles away. Nice and clean, her tactical officer said. They can't call for help now. Good, target there. Engine cooling systems next. Let's see how they like fighting when their ship starts overheating. The Phantom fired 2 small missiles at the alien ship. The missiles were designed to be almost invisible to sensors. They hit the Crimson Blade's engine section and released clouds of metal-eating nanobots on the alien ship. Warning alarms began to sound. "Sir, we're losing engine power. Something is eating through our cooling pipes." Captain Zex was confused and angry. His ship was under attack, but he could not see the enemy. "Fire at anything that moves. Use spread patterns. Hit everything around us." The Crimson Blade began firing its weapons in all directions, hoping to hit the invisible attacker. But the Phantom was already moving to its next target, and the alien weapons hit nothing but empty space. The same thing was happening to the other 2 escort ships. The human Deep Space Fleet vessels attacked like ghosts, striking without warning and vanishing before the aliens could respond. The destroyer Wolfpack, commanded by Captain James Chun, used a different approach. Instead of staying invisible, the Wolfpack pretended to be a damaged human cargo ship. "Zephyrian vessel, this is the cargo ship Lucky Day," Captain Chun said over the radio, changing his voice to sound scared. "Please don't shoot. Our engines are damaged. We surrender." The second Zephyrian escort, the Iron Fist, moved closer to capture what they thought was a helpless human ship. Captain Vorth, the alien commander, saw this as an easy victory after hours of frustrating battle. "Prepare a boarding party," Vorth ordered. "We'll take prisoners and learn about human technology." But as the Iron Fist came within range, the Wolfpack suddenly revealed its true nature. Hidden weapon ports opened along its hull, and a storm of missiles launched toward the alien ship. "Surprise," Captain Chun said, dropping the fake scared voice. The missiles hit the Iron Fist before it could raise its shields. The alien ship staggered under the impact, its hull breached in a dozen places. "This is Wolfpack to all deep space units," Captain Chun reported. "Target 2 is crippled. Moving to assist with Target 3. Back on the Void Render, Captain Korvac." Watched his escort ships being destroyed one by one. The humans were using tactics he had never seen before. They struck from the shadows, used deception, and disappeared before his ships could fight back. "Sir, we've lost contact with all 3 escorts," Lieutenant Vex reported. "The Iron Fist is dead in space. The Crimson Blade is trying to repair its engines. The Starpiercer is under attack by multiple human ships." "This is impossible," Korvac said. "How did 12 human ships destroy 3 of our destroyers?" The answer was simple, but the aliens did not understand it yet. The human Deep Space Fleet did not fight like a normal navy. They fought like hunters who had learned their skills in the most dangerous places in the galaxy. Captain Elena Vasquez of the Nightfall had spent months tracking a group of alien pirates who had been raiding human colonies. She learned to think like her enemies, to predict where they would go and what they would do. Those skills were now being used against the Zephyrians. "All units, Phase 2, she ordered. "Begin isolation protocol. Cut them off from each other." The Deep Space Fleet ships began to spread out around the battle area. They did not attack the Void Render directly. Instead, they positioned themselves between the main alien ship and any possible escape routes. On the Void Render, the sensor officer made a disturbing discovery. "Sir, the human ships have surrounded us. They're not trying to destroy us. They're trying to trap us." Lieutenant Vex checked her instruments. "He's right, sir. Look at their positions. They've cut off every route back to Zephyrian space. We can't run even if we wanted to." Captain Korvac felt cold fear growing in his chest. In 43 conquests, he had always been the hunter. Enemy ships tried to run from him, not the other way around, but now, somehow, he had become the prey. "Signal for reinforcements," he ordered. "Sir, our long-range communication array was damaged in the first attack. We can send short-range signals only, then boost the power. Get a message through to the nearest Zephyrian base." The communications officer tried for 10 minutes before giving up. "Sir, something is jamming our signals. Every time we try to send a message, it gets blocked." What the aliens did not know was that the human Deep Space Fleet had been preparing for this moment for months. They had studied Zephyrian communication frequencies and built jamming devices specifically designed to cut off alien ships from their fleets. Captain Rodriguez of the stealth ship Wraith was responsible for the jamming operation. Her ship carried the most advanced electronic warfare equipment in human space. Nightfall, this is Wraith. All enemy communications are blocked. They can't call home. Excellent work, Wraith. Maintain jamming until further notice. The battle around the Void Render continued, but now it had changed completely. The remaining human ships from Admiral Chun's fleet kept attacking the alien vessel, but they were no longer alone. The Deep Space Fleet ships appeared and disappeared like deadly shadows, striking at weak points and vanishing before the aliens could respond. The human destroyer Revenge, commanded by Captain Lisa Park, used a tactic called sensor ghosting. Her ship would appear on alien sensors for just a few seconds, long enough to fire a spread of missiles, then disappear again. Target their weapon control systems, she ordered her crew. We don't need to destroy them. We just need to make them helpless. The Revenge fired 4 missiles at the Void Render's main gun control center. The missiles were small, but they carried electromagnetic pulse warheads designed to shut down alien computers. The warheads exploded against the alien ship's hull, sending waves of electromagnetic energy through its systems. On the alien bridge, half the control panels went dark. Sir, we've lost control of forward weapons array, the weapons officer reported. The computers are rebooting, but it will take 10 minutes. Captain Korvac slammed his fist on his command chair. 10 minutes? In 10 minutes these humans will tear us apart piece by piece. He was beginning to understand that this was not a normal space battle. The humans were not trying to win a glorious victory. They were systematically destroying his ship's ability to fight back. The Deep Space Fleet had learned their tactics from years of fighting the worst criminals in human space. Pirates who used captured military ships, smugglers who knew every hiding place in a star system, alien raiders who thought humans were easy targets. All of those enemies had learned the same lesson that the Zephyrians were learning now. Humans did not give up. Humans did not run away. And humans were very, very good at making their enemies suffer. Captain Vasquez opened a communication channel to the Void Render. Zephyrian vessel, this is Captain Vasquez of the human deep space fleet. You are surrounded and cut off from your support. Your escort ships are destroyed or disabled. Your communications are jammed. Your weapons are being systematically disabled. I suggest you consider surrender. On the alien bridge, the response was immediate and angry. Never, Captain Korvac shouted. The Zephyrian Empire does not surrender to primitives. We will fight until our last breath. Your choice, Captain Vasquez replied calmly. All units, continue Phase 2 operations. Take them apart slowly. The message was clear to everyone on both sides. The hunters had become the hunted. The mighty Zephyrian fleet that had conquered 43 star systems was now trapped by the very species they had thought would be their easiest victory. And the humans were just getting started. Captain Korvac stood on the bridge of his crippled ship, watching the human vessels circle around him like hungry sharks. Half of his weapons were offline. His escort ships were destroyed or floating dead in space. His communications were jammed. But he still believed the Void Render was the most powerful ship in the system. He was about to learn how wrong he was. Sir, the sensor officer called out, we're detecting some kind of energy buildup around the human colony. What kind of energy? Unknown. Sir, it's coming from multiple sources? The orbital stations around their planet are all powering up at the same time. Lieutenant Vex studied her screen. Sir, those stations we thought were defensive platforms. They're doing something strange. They're moving into alignment with each other. On the human command ship, Admiral Shun smiled as she watched the tactical display. Dr. Webb, are we ready for the big reveal? Dr. Marcus Webb was the chief scientist of the Human Colonial Defense Initiative. He was a thin man with gray hair and tired eyes. For the past 15 years, he had worked on one project, making sure that no alien invasion of human space would ever succeed. Admiral, all stations report ready. The perimeter defense grid is fully charged and standing by. Excellent. It's time to show our visitors what humans do when we have time to prepare. What the Zephyrians had mistaken for simple defensive platforms were actually components of the largest weapon system ever built by humans. 24 orbital stations positioned around the colony planet were not separate defenses. They were parts of one massive gun. Dr. Webb had studied every alien invasion in galactic history. He learned that most species built their defenses the same way: big ships, powerful shields, heavy armor. But Dr. Webb had a different idea. Instead of building ships to fight alien vessels, why not turn entire star systems into weapons? All stations, this is Control. Begin charging sequence for Operation Thunderbolt. Around the human colony, the orbital stations began to move. What had looked like random defensive positions revealed themselves to be carefully planned firing points. The stations connected with energy beams, forming a massive ring of power around the planet. On the void render, alarms started going off. Sir? Massive energy spike from the human planet. Power levels are off our scale. Impossible, Korvac said. No single weapon can generate that much energy. Sir, it's not one weapon, it's all of them working together. They've turned their entire defensive grid into one giant gun. The truth was even more impressive than the aliens realized. The orbital stations were just the visible part of the perimeter. Defense grid, hidden throughout the system, were hundreds of other components. Asteroid mining stations that were actually missile platforms. Communication satellites that carried weapons instead of radios. Even civilian space stations had been built with hidden military capabilities. Dr. Webb spoke into his microphone. This is Control to all hidden assets. Phase 1 authentication. Zebra 7 Alpha 9. Throughout the star system, things that had looked harmless suddenly revealed their true nature. The mining station, Happy Digger, opened weapon ports and launched a spread of heavy missiles. The communication relay beacon station deployed a massive sensor array that could track stealth ships. The civilian space dock, New Hope, extended gun barrels that had been hidden inside cargo containers. Captain Korvac watched in horror as his tactical display filled with new weapon signatures. Where did all these come from? Sir, they were there all along. We thought they were civilian targets, not military installations. The aliens had made a critical mistake. They had assumed that humans, like most species, would keep their military and civilian facilities separate. They never imagined that every human installation in the system was designed to be both. Sir, Lieutenant Vex said, her voice shaking, we count over 300 weapon platforms. They've turned their entire star system into a fortress. Admiral Chin opened a communication channel to the void render. Captain Korvac, I think it's time you understood something about humans. We don't just defend our homes, we prepare for war. The orbital stations finished their charging sequence. Energy levels that could power a small city flowed through the connection beams. The weapon that Dr. Webb had spent 15 years building was finally ready to fire. Target locked on the alien vessel, the weapons officer reported. Firing solution confirmed. Fire, Admiral Chun ordered. The perimeter defense. Grid discharged its power in a focused beam of pure energy. The beam was so bright it lit up the entire system. It was so powerful it could have melted a mountain. The beam struck the void render's shields with the force of a small star. The alien ship's defensive systems, which had protected it through 43 conquests, overloaded and failed in seconds. Shields. Down! Someone screamed on the alien bridge. All shields are down, but the humans were not trying to destroy the void render. Not yet. The beam had been carefully calibrated to knock down the shields without killing the crew. Dr. Webb wanted the aliens to understand exactly how outmatched they were. Cease fire, Admiral Chun ordered. Let them think about that for a moment. On the alien bridge, everyone was silent. The most powerful shields in the Zephyrian fleet had been destroyed by a single shot. Captain Korvac realized that the humans could have killed them all, but chose not to. Sir, the tactical officer whispered, if they fire that weapon again, we're dead. But Admiral Chun was not finished with her demonstration. She opened another communication channel, this time to the entire human fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Chun. Execute Protocol 7. Show them everything. Around the system, human ships began to change. The cargo haulers that had been converted into warships revealed additional modifications. Hidden weapon pods opened along their hulls. Armor plating that had looked damaged and patched together folded back to show pristine military-grade protection underneath. The human destroyer, Defiance, had been pretending to be an old patrol boat held together with spare parts. But when Protocol 7 activated, the fake rust fell away to reveal a sleek warship with stealth coating and advanced weapons. Captain Rodriguez smiled as her ship transformed. All these months of playing weak and helpless. Finally, we get to show them what we really are. The conversion was happening throughout the human fleet. Ships that had looked like desperate civilians, fighting with whatever they could find, were revealing themselves to be purpose-built military vessels in disguise. Dr. Webb had insisted on this deception from the beginning. Let them think we're primitive, he had told Admiral Chun. Let them think we're desperate. When they realize the truth, it will be too late. Captain Korvac stared at the transformed human fleet. They were lying. All of it was an act. Those aren't converted cargo ships. They're military vessels designed to look weak. Sir, Lieutenant Vex said, we need to reassess everything. If they can disguise warships as civilian vessels, what else have they been hiding? The answer came immediately. Throughout the system, more hidden installations revealed themselves. What the aliens had thought was an asteroid field turned out to be a network of automated defense platforms. What they had believed was a damaged space station was actually a fortress bristling with weapons. The human colony itself began to change. The cities on the planet's surface opened to reveal massive gun emplacements. The civilian spaceport extended launch tubes for planetary defense missiles. Even the orbital docks around the planet deployed weapon systems that had been disguised. As construction equipment. Dr. Webb spoke from the control center deep under the colony's main city. Admiral, all perimeter defense assets are now active. We have the alien fleet completely surrounded. Total weapon count, 1,437 platforms. All targeting the remaining alien vessels. Outstanding work, Doctor. Captain Korvac, are you listening? On the void render, Captain Korvac felt something he had never experienced before. Complete, helpless terror. His mighty ship was surrounded by more weapons than some star systems had for their entire defense. How? He asked. How did you build all this without anyone knowing? Admiral Chan's voice was calm and patient, like a teacher explaining something to a slow student. Captain, humans have been preparing for this day for 20 years. Ever since we first made contact with galactic civilization, we knew someone would eventually try to conquer us, so we prepared. She paused to let that sink in. Every human colony, every space station, every asteroid mining operation was designed with two purposes: to serve our people in peacetime and to destroy our enemies in war. The scope of the human preparation was staggering. The aliens had thought they were attacking a single weakly defended colony. Instead, they had walked into a trap that had taken decades to build. Dr. Webb had studied every successful alien invasion in galactic history. He learned that most species made the same mistake. They put all their defenses in obvious places. Military bases, orbital forts, obvious weapons platforms. Enemies could see them coming and plan accordingly, but humans had done something different. They had made their entire civilization into a weapon, but disguised it so well that no one could tell the difference between a mining station and a missile platform until it was too late. Sir, the sensor officer reported, we're being targeted by over 1,000 weapon systems. If they all fire at once, nothing will be left of us. Captain Korvac looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at him, waiting for orders. But what orders could he give? His shields were down, his escort ships were destroyed, and he was surrounded by enough firepower to level a planet. Admiral Chun, he said into the communication system, what do you want? I want you to understand something very important, Captain. This is what happens when someone attacks humans. We don't just fight back. We make sure the cost is so high that no one else will ever try it again. Admiral Chun stood on her bridge, looking at the tactical display that showed the trapped alien fleet. Around her, human officers worked quietly at their stations. No one looked excited or bloodthirsty. They looked professional, like people doing a job they had trained for their entire lives. You see, Captain, humans learned something a long time ago. The best way to win a war is to be so prepared for it that no one wants to fight you in the first place. She gestured to her tactical officer, who began transmitting new data to the alien ship. We're sending you detailed scans of our defensive capabilities. Take a good look. See what you're really facing. The data that appeared on the Void Render screens was overwhelming. Weapon specifications, deployment numbers, range calculations, firing solutions. The humans were showing the aliens exactly how outmatched they were. As you can see, Admiral Chun continued, this was never a battle. This was a demonstration. We wanted to show you, and through you, the rest of the galaxy, that humans are not victims waiting to be conquered. Captain Korvac studied the data. His crew was receiving. The numbers were impossible. No single star system should have this much military power. But the evidence was right in front of him. How many other colonies do you have like this? He asked. Admiral Chin smiled, though the alien could not see it. Captain, this is one of our smaller defensive installations. We've been building systems like this around every human world for 20 years. The implication hit Captain Korvac like a physical blow. If this was a small installation, what did the humans have protecting their more important worlds? What kind of defenses surrounded Earth itself? Now, do you understand, Captain? You didn't attack a weak species hoping for easy conquest. You attacked a civilization that has spent decades preparing for exactly this moment. The demonstration was complete. The aliens now knew the truth. Humanity was not a primitive species barely capable of spaceflight. They were a military power that had disguised their strength so well that they had fooled the entire galaxy, and they were about to deliver a message that would change everything. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of her command ship, looking at the crippled alien vessel on her main screen. The mighty Void Render, terror of 43 star systems, hung helpless in space. Its shields were down, its weapons disabled, its escort ships destroyed. Captain Korvac and his crew were completely at her mercy, but Admiral Chun was not thinking about mercy. She was thinking about the future. Open a channel to the alien ship, she ordered. Channel open, Admiral. Captain Korvac, this is Admiral Chun. I'm going to offer you something that we humans call a choice. You can die here with your ship and your crew, forgotten in the darkness between stars. Or you can live to carry a message back to your empire. On the alien bridge, Captain Korvac felt the eyes of his crew watching him. Some looked hopeful, others looked ashamed. All of them looked defeated. What message? He asked. The truth, Captain. The truth about what happens when someone tries to invade human space. Admiral Chen walked closer to the communication console. Behind her, human officers continued their work with quiet efficiency. They had won this battle, but they knew the real fight was just beginning. Dr. Webb, are you ready to begin the final phase? Dr. Webb's voice came through the intercom from his control center deep under the colony. All systems ready, Admiral. We can begin whenever you give the word. Excellent. Captain Korvac, I'm going to show you something that I hope will help you understand what you're really dealing with. The tactical display on the Void Render changed to show a map of human space. Dozens of star systems were marked with blue dots. Each dot represented a human colony or outpost. This is human territory, Captain. 23 star systems, 47 inhabited worlds, over 2 billion people. What do you think you're looking at? Captain Korvac studied the map. Your empire, your civilization. Wrong, Admiral Chun said. You're looking at a weapon. Every single one of those systems has been prepared the same way this one has. Every colony, every space station, every asteroid mining operation is ready for war. She paused to let that information sink in. Captain, you didn't attack a single colony defended by a few ships. You attacked a military power that has spent 20 years turning our entire civilization into one massive fortress. The implications were staggering. If every human system was defended like this one, then the human race had more military power than some galactic empires. They had been hiding their strength so well that no one in the galaxy knew how dangerous they really were. But why? Lieutenant Vex asked from her station on the alien ship. Why build so much if you never planned to conquer anyone? Admiral Chun heard the question and decided to answer it. Because, Lieutenant, humans learned something important from our own history. The strong survive not by conquering others, but by making themselves too dangerous to attack. She gestured to her tactical officer, who began broadcasting new information. To the alien ship. We're sending you files from our historical database. Read about something we call World War II. Read about a place called Pearl Harbor. Learn what happens when someone attacks humans without warning. The data that flowed to the Void Render told the story of humanity's bloodiest conflict. Captain Korvac and his crew read about battles that lasted for years, about nations that fought until their cities were reduced to rubble, about people who refused to surrender even when facing certain death. You see, Captain, humans have a saying, those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. We remember what happens when peaceful people are not prepared for war. Captain Korvac studied the historical records with growing horror. The humans had fought wars that made the Zephyrian conquest look like minor skirmishes. They had developed weapons that could destroy entire worlds. And they had used those weapons when pushed too far. But that was your past, he said. You're civilized now. You wouldn't actually destroy whole planets. Admiral Chun's voice became very cold. Captain, I'm going to tell you about a human named Marcus Webb, the man who designed the defenses that just defeated your fleet. Dr. Webb's personal file appeared on the alien screens. The thin, tired-looking scientist seemed harmless compared to the warriors they had been fighting. 25 years ago, Dr. Webb was a civilian researcher on a human colony called New Geneva. The colony was attacked by raiders. Aliens who thought humans were easy targets. Dr. Webb watched those raiders kill his wife and children. The bridge of the Void Render fell silent. The raiders escaped before human military forces could respond. They were never caught. Never punished. Dr. Webb decided that would never happen again. Admiral Chun looked directly at the camera, knowing that Captain Korvac was watching her. Dr. Webb spent the next 20 years of his life designing systems to make sure that anyone who attacks humans pays a price so high that others will think twice before trying. He didn't do it for glory or conquest. He did it for love. Love of the people he couldn't save and determination to protect the people he still could. The story explained everything. The elaborate defenses, the hidden weapons, the willingness to fight to the death. The humans were not conquerors. They were protectors who had learned that sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to make yourself feared by those who would take it away. Dr. Webb, Admiral Chun said into her communicator, would you like to speak to Captain Korvac personally? Dr. Webb's tired voice came through the speakers on both ships. Captain Korvac, you made a mistake today. You attacked people who have families, children, hopes, and dreams. You tried to take away everything they care about. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath it. I want you to understand something. The weapons you face today, the defenses that defeated your fleet, they're not even our best ones. They're just what we were willing to use against someone who might still be reasoned with. Captain Korvac felt a chill run down his spine. What do you mean? I mean, Captain, that if you had actually succeeded in harming our people, if you had killed civilians or destroyed our colony, you would have faced something much worse than the perimeter defense grid. Dr. Webb paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was like winter wind. You would have faced humanity at war, real war. The kind of war we fought against ourselves for thousands of years before we learned better. The kind of war that ends with planets cracked open and star systems turned into graveyards. The threat was clear. The humans had shown mercy today, but only because the aliens had not yet crossed the line that would turn that mercy into vengeance. Admiral Chun took control of the conversation again. Captain Korvac, here's what's going to happen. We're going to repair your ship just enough for you to make it home. We're going to give you detailed records of this battle. And you're going to carry a message to your empire and anyone else who might be listening. What message? That humanity is not conquered. We are not enslaved. We are not exterminated. We cannot be beaten because we refuse to lose. We cannot be conquered because we have made ourselves too dangerous to attack. She stood straighter, and her voice carried the authority of someone speaking for an entire species. Tell them that humans have learned the most important lesson in the galaxy. If you want peace, prepare for war. If you want to be left alone, make sure the cost of bothering you is higher than anyone is willing to pay. Captain Korvac understood. The message was not just for the Zephyrian Empire. It was for every species in the galaxy that might someday look at human space and think it would be easy to take. Tell them, Admiral Chun continued, that no one invades human space. Not because we won't let them try, but because anyone who tries will learn why that's the biggest mistake they could ever make. The repair work on the Void Render took 6 hours. Human engineers worked alongside alien crew members to fix the damage that had disabled the great ship. It was a strange sight, enemies working together to save lives. During the repairs, Captain Korvac was allowed to tour one of the human defense stations. What he saw there would stay with him for the rest of his life. The station was not just a weapon platform. It was also a school, a research center, and a home for 300 human families. Children played in gardens built inside the station's rotating sections. Scientists worked in laboratories developing new technologies. Teachers prepared lessons for the next generation. This is what you were trying to destroy, Admiral Chun told him as they watched children play in the station's park. Not just soldiers or weapons, but families. People who dream of the future. Captain Korvac watched a small human child laugh as she chased a floating ball in the low-gravity section. The child looked up at him with curious eyes, unafraid of the strange alien visitor. We don't fight because we love war, Admiral Chun said. We fight because we love them. When the repairs were finished, Captain Korvac prepared to leave with his surviving crew. Half of his ship was still damaged, but it would be enough to get them home. The 3 destroyed escort ships would be left behind as a reminder of what had happened here. Captain, Admiral Chun said as the Void Render prepared to depart, I want you to remember something. Today you were our enemy, but we still saved your life. We could have killed you all and no one would have blamed us. Why didn't you? Because dead enemies can't deliver messages, and because mercy is also a form of strength. The Void Render slowly turned and began its journey back to Zephyrian space. As it left the human system, every weapon platform, every hidden defense station, every disguised military vessel tracked its movement. The message was clear: we're watching you go, and we'll be ready if you come back. Captain Korvac stood on his bridge, looking back at the human colony as it disappeared behind them. The planet looked peaceful and quiet, just another small world in the vast galaxy. But he now knew the truth. That peaceful world was protected by enough firepower to destroy a fleet. Sir, Lieutenant Vex asked quietly, what will you tell the High Command? Captain Korvac thought for a long moment. The truth. That we found a species that cannot be conquered because they refuse to lose. That we found a civilization that has turned itself into a weapon but uses that weapon only to protect what they love. He looked at the data files the humans had given him. Battle records, defense specifications, historical documents. Evidence of humanity's true strength. And I'll tell them that anyone who attacks humans after this had better be prepared to pay a price that will bankrupt empires. The word spread quickly through the galaxy. The Zephyrian Empire, conquerors of 43 star systems, had been defeated by a species most aliens had never heard of. The details of the battle were shared in bars, trading posts, and military headquarters across civilized space. Other species that had been considering raids on human territory quietly canceled their plans. Pirates who had thought human cargo ships would be easy targets found new hunting grounds. Military planners who had marked human space as a potential expansion zone erased those marks and looked elsewhere. The message had been received and understood. Humanity was not a victim waiting to be conquered. They were a sleeping giant that was best left undisturbed. And in human space, children continued to play in gardens built inside weapon platforms. Scientists continued their research in laboratories hidden inside fortresses, and families continued to dream of the future, protected by the love of those who refused to let anyone take that future away. The galaxy had learned a new lesson. No one invades human space. Not because they can't, but because the price of trying is more than anyone is willing to pay. Peace through strength. The human way.